welcome back. Today we are doing one of the zigzags by Moments by Liz. So in her pattern, she actually has 3 patterns. There is the zigzag eyeglasses case, which you could also use as a pencil case. There is the car mat, and they also have a crayon kind of coloring book one. So if you would like to see how to make this, please stay tuned. Okay guys, so what you're going to need is your exterior piece, and then I have put on some fusible fleece onto the back, so that's ironed on. You'll also need a lining piece, and something to just remember is when you cut this, it does say it on the pattern, but just be aware, you cut one right sides up with the pattern up, and then you flip the pattern over to cut the other one. So you'll need those. You'll also need some continuous zipper tape, but you're only going to use one side of this for the project. So you may want to make these in lots of 2 so that you can use both sides of your zip. And you also need some ribbon. Now, for the life of me, I cannot find the ribbon in my house, so I have basically made some out of my exterior fabric. So I took a 1.5 inch piece of fabric and I've turned it into double fold bias. So I ironed it in half like that, and then I tucked both of the raw edges to that center line and then iron and pressed it again. So you don't need it this long, but I just cut off a piece with my rotary cutter. So the first thing I'm going to do, which you won't need to do, is I'm going to stitch down both sides of my double-sided tape to create a ribbon. Because if I don't stitch it, it will fall open, which is something we don't want. So I'm just stitching that at a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance from the edge. And so now I have some stuff I can use as a loop. So I'm going to cut off how much I need, like this, and we're going to create it into a loop, like so. Now I've got my pattern piece here so that I can get the placement of everything correct. And we're actually doing this from your pattern. So I've never made this before. I've never even read through the pattern. So we're going to kind of learn as we go. So I'm going to sit this up the way that it is, and then I'm going to place my ribbon at the ribbon notch. So this will be the top of the case. So like that. I'm just going to use a clip to pop it on. So we're going to take the zip and separate that like so. And I'm not going to throw this away because, again, I can use it for another one. So we just need one side, and I'm also going to just singe both ends so that they don't fray. And you always want to use the blue part of the flame when you're doing this. Okay, so now we're going to take the teeth and lay the zipper right sides down. And we're going to leave a 3-inch tail. So I'm going to take my pattern piece and I'm just going to do a tiny little snip where the zipper is going to start. So it's written on your pattern piece. So there. So we're going to place it there and then clip it all the way around. So I'm not going to clip it. I'm just going to stitch it, and I'm going to base stitch it so nice and close to the edge. So I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to have this excess, and I'm going to back stitch at the start, and I'm going to stitch up, and then I'm just going to kind of place the zipper as I go. Stopping with the needle down and then lifting your foot like this. So I'm not stitching too close to the edge of the zipper teeth because I still have to attach my lining piece and I don't want to see these stitches. So this is just basting it in place. I'm also going to stitch down my loop, so I'm going to put this over the top and stitch across the loop, and I might just do a back stitch there to really kind of hold that loop in place. And then we're going to come up, and the corners are a bit tight, so feel free to pin this if you want to. Especially if you're a beginner, I highly recommend grabbing your Wonder clips and clipping it all in place. And we want to get back to the start, like that, and then back stitch. So you should now have your zipper face down with your tails just kind of hanging out here. Now we're going to trim off the thread tails there. We always trim our tails, it helps to keep it neat. Okay, next step. So now we're going to come along and we're going to trim and clip any corners that look like they're having a few issues. Mine are pretty good, which is fine, but you just want to put little clips so that it's going to bend easier. And then we're going to take this piece, oops, and put it right sides down. And you want to tuck these in together. So I'm just going to put a clip on them like that so they stay together and out of the way. So this time I am going to clip this on. So I'm going to start on a straight edge because that's the easiest part to start. And then we're going to tuck that up. Clip it all down. Like so. So you also want to be feeling your zipper teeth and making sure that they're not in the way under there. Grab some more clips. I know I have a bowl, but I like to make a little bit of chaos while I'm clipping. Tuck it in. Clip it down. Oops. I think I've got this on the wrong way, actually. I think I've flipped this. Because it's, there we go. Because it is the batik fabric, it's sometimes a little bit hard to see which way is the right side up. This way looks much better. So I'm going to start and do that again. In fact, I might clip it at all the curves. Like this, and then I can do the straights in between. Make sure that everything's lined up. Now this might fight you a little bit because the zipper tape is quite firm, but you just make sure that you're tucking it under and then use clips close together. So you can do them right next to each other if you need to. That's not an issue at all. So again, I'm just going to push that zip down flat and then whack a clip on. You'll always find that you need more clips on a curve. But don't be afraid to have lots of clips on here. There's no right or wrong amount for clips. It's whatever you're comfortable with. And the newer you are to sewing, the more clips you're going to want, which is fine. This I've never made this before, so I'm going to use a heap of clips. Make sure I don't stuff it up for the video. That would be not cool. So again, we're just going to tuck those in there like that. And I'm always making sure that my clips are facing the right way up to the way I'm going to sew. So I'm going to sew this with my lining side up, so I'm making sure that the clips are facing lining side up. So when I get to sewing and pulling them off, it's much easier. So again, just tuck that under and clip. I'm nearly the full way around. See, those two tip clips are literally touching because the corner can potentially be a little bit tricky. Okay, so I've now got it clipped. I probably shouldn't have picked this fabric. It's not super easy to tell right side from wrong side. So now we are going to sew around, and we're going to leave a gap where the zipper tape joins. So you could possibly even pull it out just so you know, but make sure we don't stitch over that. So we're just going to now, I'm going to have this side of my foot up against the zipper. And just slowly stitch around. Now I'm using my fingernails to kind of make sure I'm not stitching over the zipper. That's actually the main reason why I get fake nails. It's a sewing tool. Another thing that you could use instead is your stiletto or your sewing awl, which is this bad boy. So you can kind of just poke around in here, making sure that you're pushing this up against the teeth so that you can see where they are. I personally prefer to use my nails, that's why I get them. And I get them also because I can't grow them. So it was a little bit thicker there because that's where our little loop of what should be ribbon or bias tape. Needle down. And then again, I'm just going to push that zipper teeth out of the way. Some bits you can go faster than others. And now I'm back to the start. So I'm going to back stitch and then trim your tails. Like so. Now what does it say to do? So now that we've done that, we are going to turn it in the right way. I just wanted to double check. So we're going to pull the whole thing through on itself. Now this should be pretty easy because the fusible fleece is quite flexible. If you don't have fusible fleece, you could also use, I think they're using Soft and Stable, which is an American branded stuff. You could also just use quilt batting and then use some basting spray to spray it on. So now that it's out the right way, we are going to check the instructions. Turn it out. Then we need to attach the zips. We're going to top stitch it, attach the zipper. And then we just put like a cute little clamp on the end of the zip. Awesome. So we're going to tuck that. So this side should all be nice and even and beautiful. And then we just want to flip it over and make sure that this raw edge will be holding the zipper nicely. So I'm just going to grab a couple of pins and pin that so it's nice and flush so that there's no raw edge showing. So I'm putting my pins in, down and in. What this will do is it will stop it rolling up while I'm trying to top stitch. I don't use pins often. This is kind of cool. All right, so now we're going to do a top stitch all the way around. So I'm going to lengthen my stitch length to all the way up to 4 so it's pretty. I'm also going to hold these out of the way, and I'm going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch around the edge. So I'm just lightly tugging with my nails on that zip to make sure that it's sitting nice and flush. And then when I get back to the start, I'm going to do a back stitch and then trim off those tails. I think I just missed the bin then. And so now you can take those pins out. So now it should still just look like this, but it's got a really nice top stitch going on. So now the idea is that I'm going to put my zipper pull on. Just wiggle it down like that, and then it's going to zip, and your zipper should end at your loop. So mine, as you can see, is a little bit off. So I need to come this side. So this side here needs to go in a little bit before the other side. So to do that, I'm just going to stick it all the way in like this, and then put the other side in. Just to make sure that we get it exactly where we want. Now this is obviously a lot easier with my zipper jig, and if it doesn't go in a second, I'm definitely, there we go. Right, so now we're going to try it again. And so now, how cool is that? So that's on. I've actually now put it a little bit too far the other way. So I'm going to do it a third time, and it's going to work, hopefully. All right, third time's the charm. Or not. All right, so now, because I can't get it right, I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to grab some clips, and I'm going to clip it so it's exactly where I want that to be. And then I'm just going to go along the teeth like this, clipping them evenly all the way down so that I can get the end even. I believe this is called a walkaround. So try and keep the teeth even, otherwise it still won't work for you. So like this. Okay, and so now I'm going to cut them even. And now when I thread my zip on, it should work. All right. One side half on. And then I grab the other side, making sure there's no twist. Would hate for you to get it perfect and then it's got issues. All right, look at that. Worked that time. So I highly recommend doing that walk around. Now we just need to finish off this end. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cut off the zipper to here. And then she's got a really cute little clamp that you can put on the end. Because I don't have that, I'm actually going to fold it like this and then measure that size and get a piece of vinyl that's going to fit it. So I'm just going to hit pause while I go and cut a little piece of vinyl for here. So I've just cut this little piece here. So now all I need to do is I'm going to fold it in half in my hands and make sure that it creases there. So I'm just going to rub on it a little bit like that, kind of rolling it in my fingers to make that crease. And so I'm going to tuck under both halves of the zip like that to make it a bit thinner. And then I'm just going to slot that on the end. Now I can see that I can actually cut a little bit more off there because I don't want it to hang out too far. So again, fold it over like that and then squish it into the zipper like this. And then I'm just going to top stitch around the square. I'm going to start with the open end, and then I'm going to back stitch, and then needle down and pivot everything. Needle down again and pivot. Now before I get back to any more stitching, I'm going to trim off my tails so that they don't get caught up because this is such a small piece. Needle down and then final pivot. Now I'm also going to do the X through this because I think it looks really cool. It's my latest obsession. And then stitch along that bottom edge again. And then do up the other side of the X. And then back stitch. And then trim off my tails. Then I'm also going to grab a lighter because I've got a few tiny little bits of thread and then melt them down so that they're not sticking out. And there you go. Super cute zigzag case. Now this is actually big enough for eyeglasses and sunglasses, but it's also deceptively tall and you could use it as a pencil case as well. So this is a great little teacher gift or stocking stuffer or just a fun thank you present. I hope you enjoyed watching, guys, and I will do another tutorial soon. Bye-bye.